By this point in 2015, we were really deep into character selection for Motu Classics, and we were doing characters that not everyone heard of, and we were looking at ways of how can we expand the line? Who can we drop into the mini comics to justify, to get fans demanding, a character like Tug of War or something like that. The other issue was by this point in the line, the person running the line was no longer there. Me. Yeah, this was basically at the point when I left Mattel, and oh gosh, despite all of the internet rumor, no, I was not fired and thrown out for mismanaging the He-Man line. I left to take a position at Jakks Pacific as a director, a higher level position at a higher level pay. And for me, the most important thing was I was going to get to work on Star Wars, which I'd never really, outside of the Hot Wheels Star Wars line, gotten to work on. Star Wars action figures, that is. So yes, I left Mattel to work on the Jakks Big Figs line. All right, so with that out of the way, but with me out of the way, it meant that a lot of the details now were out of my hands. So I was there at this point for characters going forward for character selection only. Essentially, I helped decide which characters were going to go into the line, and for this Club 2000X add-on, getting Callix in the line was a huge priority for me. And I was so glad that the new team didn't adjust anything. I was like, don't cut Callix. I was so scared they were going to. Because, so again, I was originally there. Hawk was supposed to be the line and she got moved. So the new team did make adjustments. Why Callix, though, and why I was like so scared the new team was going to get rid of him, he was introduced into the Mike Young Productions 2000X line as a new member of the Horde to essentially show how powerful Hordak was. Now, you couldn't do this by getting rid of any of the beloved members of the Horde like Mantena or Grizzlor, Leech, etc. So, Callix was literally created to be destroyed. The idea, and he was just shredded into pebbles by Hordak on screen to show how powerful Hordak could be. So this was, kind of like Vader, choking the hell out of Mahdi or killing Ozzel, or honestly, I also viewed it a little bit like the red shirts on Star Trek, where, Callix was created just to be killed off, to show Hordak's power. Well, a lot of fans still wanted to see a Callix figure, and there were customs out there, which were very inspiring. And again, I wasn't at Mattel, so I can't speak to choices like the inclusion of weapons or the choice of paint ops, because that was all made by the new team. I was only there for character selection. But like I said, the reason Callix was so important to me, I was so scared. I was like, don't cut him, new team. I love rock action figures. I loved the Rock-On and Stone-Dar were by far two of my favorite toys. Not just favorite Motu toys, but just favorite toys as a kid. I still have them on my desk. And the Rock Warriors book with that beautiful art, absolutely one of my favorites as a child. So, and I looked at, when I saw Callix for the first time, I'm like, oh my God, it's one of the Rock people from the book. I just thought he was, maybe he was tan instead of gray. All right, so I pulled a little Brett Con to take a page from Rick and Morty and basically resurrected Callix. Not as a, undead stormtrooper or anything, but more that I said, oh, well, maybe he just has the ability to reform from those pebbles. Like, that's his power. Sure, why not? And that was basically because I loved this character. I loved his design, and I didn't want to just see him killed off. So I just made up a superpower for him. It's also why when we did the Creative Figure era, I didn't do a gargoyle granite figure, because I wanted to get to Callix. He was the Rock character. I didn't want to do an original Rock character, which a lot of people asked me about, because Callix was, there. He was established. So were the Rock people from that book. So I didn't want to make up a character where you had reference. Now, some fans had wanted a toy version to be more with the red hues of the Horde colors to match kind of what everyone else had. Again, there was a lot of fan art out there. In the end, the team, and I'm assuming actually the Horsemen, they were the ones who come up with the deco. They went with something that was a bit more muted, which I love. I think they knocked it out of the park. I think that if they went for a bright red, it might have off-put the character. So again, I wasn't there for the development, just the final figure, but getting him in the mail was awesome. This was, I think, one of the first figures I experienced. The first time I got it was actually getting the final product, because I wasn't at Mattel to see the full development. But again, as one of my absolute favorite figures and characters, the fact that it took so long to get to him, and I loved the way the Horsemen designed it by using shared parts and mixing and matching with just the larger boots and sort of gloves. It was a cool surprise, because I saw him for the first time when all of you did at a show, and I was just like, oh man, they nailed it. I didn't know how they were going to do him because I wasn't there. So that was cool to have that surprise and to get Callix as a figure. At least I had help in that I put his name on a piece of paper. that was my work on Callix. But hey, that name led to a figure, and if that meant more rock on rock action for Masters of the Universe, I was a happy fan. So yeah, this is definitely the transition from working on the line to being a fan of the line.